Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super discussion video. Actually, it's more of a speculation theory video. Actually, it's a little bit more of a power scaling video, and you guys know I would not have a power scaling video without Kevin from Golden Scouter. Man, what is up? Say hello to everyone listening.
What's up, guys? It is I, the Golden Scouter. How are you doing, Mark?
I love your WW intro, WW intros. Anyway, guys. So just to kind of put a little bit of a dressing on this, or kind of give you a little bit of backstory. We're going into story time right here, guys. Basically, when I first got in touch with Kevin, we were talking, and I was like, hey, you want to do this video? I know you do these power scaling videos from time to time. If you haven't seen them, please go check them out. They're really good. But let's do this. Let's do a speculation video, power scaling video, based off of the Tournament of Power before we really got into it. I mean, before any of this actually started or anyone started fighting or in recruitment or anything, let's do this. He's like, yeah, totally, let's do this. But we had a caveat to it. We're not going to put power levels. We're not going to talk about planet bursters or universe bursters or yada, yada, yada. We're going to be doing something akin to one of our favorite anime series, Yu Yu Hakusho, because that had a very, very simple outline. A class, B class, C class, with the highest being an S class, that type of stuff. And we kind of went off that. We only went off of the 15 fighters that we knew at the time, be it, everyone from Universe 7, and then everyone we knew who was going to be fighting from Universe 6. That's all we knew. Now, we've had a bit of a shakeup. We've been introduced to a lot of people that we can now speculate on. Plus, one of the fighters from Universe 7 actually dropped out. So, guys, we're here. We're back to do a follow-up video to that. And before we go any further, I feel like we were talking about this before. Man, you had a different way of looking at this, or a different grading scale that you wanted to introduce. So what was that?
It was still the same one, E through S class, but the thing is that I failed to account for in the previous videos was for the power of the Gods of Destruction, the Angels, and Daishinkan. So back then, I remember I had Goku and Vegeta and Hit as S classes, but I don't actually think so if we're going to take a grand scheme of things into power scaling. So in my opinion right now, I would say what is kind of worth talking about is maybe that A class, so to say, like if this were to translate to Yu Yu Hakusho, maybe that is kind of more God tier, and then S class is more God of Destruction or Angel tier. And so far we've heard that there's only one person who can rival the God of Destruction in this tournament, at least from our knowledge, because we've only been pointed out that there's one mortal that has the power of a God of Destruction. So what I was thinking is that it seems like that there are characters who are all relatively even and are probably around on the cusp of actually maybe ascending into this S class, or this class that can actually take on a God of Destruction. I mean, the whole Limit Break Survivor and people theorizing about how Goku's going to break his limits through a miracle or something like that. I think that that's going to be the instance where he reaches the so-called power of the gods and stuff like that. Because, I mean, like I was saying before, A class is kind of what I would consider God tier if we were to power scale Dragon Ball Super 2, like Yu Yu Hakusho.
So you're talking about Super Saiyan God tier. This is like that type of tier, not God tier like Supreme Kai or North Kai or Dende or something like that. Like a God tier is like Goku and Vegeta type of thing.
Exactly. So, I mean, just to kind of give more context of what I mean, if I were to power scale Super Saiyan God Goku versus Beerus, I would probably put him around an A-, just because that was whenever he first got access to God Ki. And right now, I would probably put Goku and Vegeta around an upper A class. But at the same time, I do think that the gap from upper A class to lower S class is ginormous.
It definitely is, because Super is all over the place with its feats and its power and all this stuff. How much percent is everyone using? I mean, we haven't even touched on that since the Battle of the Gods arc, so who really knows? But okay, so with that, you're saying that they're basically, would you say just like an A class or A plus class for Goku and Vegeta?
I would probably say upper A class just because, I don't know, it kind of gives a little bit of a gap for them to grow, especially since in between the time Goku turned Super Saiyan God and this time he's grown exponentially stronger. Like, there's power scaling videos that say, like, he's gotten, like, 20 times stronger since then or 30 times stronger, and they all give pretty good cases for that. So I think that Goku going from, like, say, a lower A class to an upper A class from the beginning of Super all the way up until now sounds a little bit plausible. Wait, it sounds very plausible, and also because there's one more class above it, I think that it gives tons of room for Super to keep going.
Okay, well, that makes a whole lot of sense, at least in my opinion. I would probably... It sounds more like you're kind of gearing towards, like, if we're doing just normal grading system like we were talking about, like an A plus. I don't necessarily know exactly where you're putting it, but it sounds, at least to me, that you're saying, like, more of an A plus than an A. And I have to disagree. Like, I would potentially say, going off of everything you just said and all those, and basically every explanation video I've gotten, and the idea that Toriyama said, you know, Goku and Vegeta aren't necessarily going to get Beerus level anytime soon, or maybe even ever, I would put them at a not upper A, just an A, and not an A minus, and that is what I think they're basically going to be staying at. I mean, who knows what they're going to be at the end of this tournament. In fact, what you're saying, like the upper A class, A plus or something, that could be the limit breaker, where it's just like a mortal is so unbelievably close, even though it's still a ginormous distance between A plus and S class. I think that's close enough to put people like on a, oh, you know, it's kind of getting a little bit tense in here. But at the same time, you run into a couple of problems with that, at least logically, with some of the people we're going to be talking about later, and what people have actually said about them. But before we get into that, I think we should go into some of the other people from Universe 7. Now, granted, guys, I think before we get into this, I gotta say, we're not necessarily going to be covering everyone from Universe 7, Universe 6, and onwards. I mean, there's just way too many people. We haven't seen feats or know anything about most of these people, let alone their names, or even if we do know their names, we haven't memorized them. So I just think that we came up with a list, so we're going to try to follow that list as well as possible. So for me, at least, the next one is Gohan. And I really would like to hear your opinion as to where Gohan actually is in this particular tournament, at least on this grading scale that we've come up with.
Yeah, and just to respond a little bit earlier about us having this condensed list, always gives a chance for people to tell us their opinions on where they think everyone's at.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I mean, just to get to where you were talking about where I think Gohan is, I would say one, like grade level lower, not grade level, but kind of like, if like on my scale, if Goku's an A plus, I would put Gohan at an A, and then your power scaling, I'd probably put Gohan an A minus, whereas Goku is an A in your power scaling. What do you think about that? Because I've always interpreted that Gohan is just one small step behind Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Like, whenever Gohan was kind of egging him on to, like, use his full power, it kind of, like, spoke to me as, like, somebody who goes over to the gym and kind of, like, goes past their limits, and then after they're done with that, they're kind of, like, huffing and puffing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. But they did get done with the workout.
Yeah.
I like that idea, and I guess I would say that, like, logically, based on everything you said, it makes sense. I gotta disagree, though. I know a lot of people are gonna come at me in the comment section below, but I wouldn't even put Gohan in the A level. I'd put him upper B, you know, B plus type of level or something like that, because it's just, I find it hard. And I know we did get that episode where he did fight Goku, and Goku gave him a good fight, or he gave Goku a good fight, whatever. It was interesting, and you could make an argument that he ain't that far behind Goku when it comes to power, or at least resourcefulness, because, you know, power is a lot more than just actual fighting. It's a lot of strategy and brain work and stuff. And whether or not, you know, one of the big hallmarks of Dragon Ball in general is, like, you don't have to be stronger than the person. You don't have to have a higher fighting level or battle level or something. You just have to be able to win. And I guess it doesn't necessarily matter in that sense, but just in general strength, not to even think about like mind capabilities or strategy or anything else like that. I just have a hard time believing that Gohan is Super Saiyan Blue level, or at least even remotely close to it, because considering the fact that people from the beginning of Dragon Ball Super, from where you were sitting there talking about like, okay, maybe Super Saiyan God, the red form was A minus, and then now what Goku's kind of achieved is on your level like an A plus, my level's an A, something like that. I just feel like in order for Gohan to be on that level, the amount of, I guess, percentage climbed or something would have to be so gigantic that I can't see it happening so quickly. Now, Gohan's always been an exception to every single rule in the power level playbook, but I mean, even still, Super takes this stuff liberally. This would be huge.
Oh, definitely. Sorry. I do agree with you that the fact that Gohan being at that level does sound really implausible, but I mean, just from that one episode where he fought Goku one-on-one, I've always kind of gotten the interpretation that Gohan was kind of more around 80 to 85% of Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Now, I know that some people are going to hang me by my toes by saying that, so I mean, that's just my opinion, too, of like why I'd put him at the level where I did.
Oh, no, I completely agree with that. I mean, it's just, I think there's a lot of more people out there, people who are listening to this, who would think one way that like Gohan is closer to Super Saiyan Blue than either of us are thinking right now. And those opinions have a lot of merit to them, honestly. There's no way to really judge this. We're basically going off of what we watched and how we interpret what we watched or listened to. So just, everything we say with a grain of salt, guys. And like Kevin said, please make sure to go down to the comment section below and make sure to comment all of your disagreements, because we want to hear all y'all's thoughts and opinions, basically, about whether or not we're right, whether you think we're wrong or right, who do you agree with more, or something else like that. So, but with that being said, let's move on. I mean, who's next, man?
Well, I mean, I just kind of want to go through this list that I have, I mean, just to show where I think everyone is at. I'm only going to go through several people just based off the top fighters in this tournament, in my opinion. So, number one, kind of above the whole ladder of everyone else, like, I think that Jiren is kind of a lower S-class, but very, very, very weak of a lower S-class. Kind of like how Sensui was. Like, Sensui was really weak for an S-class. So, I would say Jiren is number one, the top dog, at least in my opinion, for right now. That could be contradicted at literally any time. But,
Yeah.
But everyone who I would have at the A+ level, I would have Goku, Vegeta, Freeza, Hit, Topo, and Kale. So those are my top fighters, and the ones who might be mid A class is just 17 and Gohan, at least just from my knowledge. So there's my list. I mean, there's more that we were talking about, like Khalifa and Briam, but I don't really think that they're God tier just yet, so that's why I didn't really include them in that list.
I know, it's so hard to say like where some of these people are. We haven't seen a whole lot from them. I mean, just considering the fact that we have people like Jiren, I don't necessarily think I would put Jiren in S-class, just because, just like I held off with Goku and Vegeta, I'm going to hold off with Jiren. Jiren, to me, would be more of an A+. Because I just think it's a little bit ridiculous, even though we did get that kind of wink and a nod from Whis a couple episodes ago saying that there was potentially a mortal stronger than the God of Destruction in his or her universe. We don't know who that is. It didn't seem exactly like Whis knew who that was. It sounded more like hearsay to me, and I don't necessarily think that person's actually fighting in this tournament. Now, if you follow me or MJ, I know MJ has talked about this a lot, where he kind of believes that person isn't actually even fighting in the tournament, and it's not Jiren, because if it was Jiren, considering everything that we knew, apparently, they would have actually probably said that. Like, why would we be so coy about that? He'd be like, one of those guys from the Pride Troopers, that guy's really strong, so watch out. So I don't think he's actually a God tier character, even if you would put him in S and you do have like another tier for that. I just think even remotely is way too big. This is way too big of a class. And personally, I don't know where it leaves. Even if you get them that close, even if it's not that close at all, I don't know how much further you can have Goku grow if he's able to beat Hit. And then, like, he has to at least some point be able to beat Beerus by then. And then maybe even Whis and the Grand Priest and all these other people. And I don't see the point. Even though a lot of people would, I don't see the point of having Goku being able to do that by the end of Dragon Ball. What else is left for him to fight? Like, he only lives to fight new and stronger people. If he literally gets to a point where he can beat some of the most powerful people in the universes, he's done. And maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing, but I just don't necessarily see it happening. And then you also have, like, Toppo. I would put Toppo at an A class, just like I said, with Goku and Vegeta. Then 17, I'm with it. Like, I'm just such a pessimist on this, guys. Like, I would put 17 at a B plus as well. I don't think, even though we got to see him fight Goku in his Super Saiyan Blue form and everything, I just don't put them on the same level as an A class. So Gohan and 17, same level to me. I definitely don't see 17 being that much stronger than Gohan, or at least being on the same level as, I guess, Super Saiyan God Goku was, if that was an A minus. 18, I would have to say 18, at least for me, is like a B minus. I don't necessarily think she trained just as much as 18. He's definitely, or 17. She's definitely on a lower scale than he is. And then you also have Freeza. Frieza's definitely an A class. Maybe, I might even put Freeza, and a lot of people are going to come at me here, I might even put Freeza and Hit at A plus, the exact same place I would put Jiren. Like, those three guys from those three universes are the strongest. Frieza, as he said, figured out how to utilize his power. He figured out how to not lose his stamina, and it's very possible that he is stronger than a Super Saiyan Blue. But what are your thoughts on that, just like in general?
I mean, like, I really do like the thought of your conservative power scaling now that I'm hearing more about it, especially whenever you brought up the point about once Goku has reached the God tier, what direction could the story possibly move and continue in a plausible way? Because right now, a lot of people have been saying that the Universe Survival Arc stakes are too big too soon for Dragon Ball Super. In some ways I agree with that, and in some ways I don't, because I think that there's probably still room for a bigger and grander tournament. But just onto what you were saying, I would probably put 18, honestly, probably around C class, but that's just because of my headcanon of where these power scaling things kind of measure. Okay, just to run you through, like, my opinion, I think that D class is probably from, like, Raditz level all the way till maybe first form Frieza. I'd say C class is maybe, like, final form Frieza all the way up until, like, number 16. And then I would say B class is probably, like, Cell level all the way up until Boo and Vegito and all that. And then A class, God tier. S class, Demigod tier. So that's kind of what I would say. But, what was it exactly that you had a question for me? I forgot the question now.
I did want to ask you, like, I wanted to say, like, what are your thoughts on Frieza being stronger than the Super Saiyan gods?
I like that idea a lot because Goku and Vegeta were just kind of like, well, if Frieza kind of steps out of line, we'll just take care of him. But with Frieza being that strong, it won't be that easy. Like, it's not like, oh, we can just keep this tyrannical overlord that we've been fighting for 2 arcs just under our belt just because we think that we're just so much stronger than him. So in my opinion, I do like the idea of Frieza being a step ahead Super Saiyan Blue, Goku, and Vegeta. But once Goku starts using the Kaioken times 10, I would probably say logically Frieza doesn't stand a chance against that.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. And I definitely think that that's something pretty interesting and something we have to look forward to, is seeing how this all breaks down. One of the things that I feel like, at least kind of going against what you were saying about Jiren being a S-class, although very, very weak S-class, is I don't like that. I like the idea if Frieza's the strongest person on Universe 7, it kind of puts everything going for a loop because everyone would just assume that Goku is, and then there's a handful of people who assume that Vegeta is, or assume that Gohan was going to be at some point the strongest person on the team because of some kind of rage boost or awakening or something like that. I mean, I've heard everything, but having Frieza be the strongest person on the team and on the same scale as what we're doing is Hit and Jiren, potentially, it would be cool to have like that dynamic. It could boil down to something pretty epic if that's exactly what they try to do, and I would love to see it, but who really knows. I personally, just in general, I personally would love for that to happen, and I gotta say, like, the last couple people I have to talk about here are obviously Kale, Khalifa, Kaba, and the Vegeta Batamo fusion. And I love the idea of Vegeta Batamo being like the fusion, you know, them just on these, like, Botamo's on Vegeta's shoulders, and they're the ultimate tank. I actually like if they're together, it's like an A+, because you can't do anything. Like, those guys, like, because Vegeta shows he's really very strong. Like, one of the things that we saw with him is he literally went like fist to fist with Topo. So the guy is strong. Like, he can tank Topo's like direct punch. Then obviously he has some strength to him, and then Botamo is just like the ultimate tank. And so putting them together would put them like on that level. Like, no one can mess with them. But at the same time, like, once you take them off of each other, then they have just glaring weaknesses that would put them way far down the list. Like, and I think that that's something really, really funny to kind of talk about, and I just would love them to be like an A+, but when they're apart, maybe being like a B+ each, or maybe even like a B or B- or wherever you'd put them. And then basically, like, yeah, I think you said you'd put Kale at an A+, like on that level. When she's in her transform form, I guess you would really have to say that she probably is, or at least an A. I mean, she looks incredibly strong, and she was able to take the entire tournament for a roundabout in episode 100, so that's something to really go off of. And then you also have Khalifa. I don't necessarily know where she stands. I would say probably B+ as well. Someone who has potential, but not necessarily strong enough to compete with anyone that we really want her to compete with. And then Kaba, B+, or even B. Actually, I'd put him at a B. I don't think he's that strong.
Yeah, same here. I mean, just based off of what Renzo said about Khalifa, it automatically, to me, puts her above Kaba. So there's that. I mean, we saw how strong base Kaba was, or at least how weak some of the other fighters were whenever he just two-shotted those two dudes. So, in my opinion, I would say that Khalifa is probably a good step ahead above Kaba. So, I mean, a fair rating for them, I'd probably say, like, Khalifa, a mid-B, and Kaba, like, mid-B too, but Kaba's obviously a lot weaker. But
what about Moga? I can't say both of their names. Bogeta.
Bogeta? Oh, man. Well, I mean, like, strength-wise, probably, like, lower B or upper C, and then actually, I'd probably put them each around, yeah. I'd probably put Vegeta around, like, lower B, and then Botamo probably, like, lower C or something like that. And then together, their defenses are through the roof. So, yes, I do agree. A class or upper A class with their defense.
And yeah, like, I don't know how anyone's going to beat them. In fact, I really think that they're going to be beaten in like the funniest way possible, or they're going to be one of the last people. Like, they're going to be one of the last people in the ring. So, but with that being said, guys, I think we're going to leave it at that. Like I said throughout the video, please make sure to check the comment section below. For us, we're going to be on there stalking you guys and commenting back whenever we see something that really pops us. And then also we're going to be wanting to hear all of y'all's thoughts and opinions about this. Where would you rank all of the people that we talked about? Even more, if you want to talk about even more people, that's fine too. Go down to the description section below and click that link. Please make sure to go check out Kevin over at the Golden Scouter, because the guy makes some really awesome content. If you like power scaling videos, the guy does some really awesome very in-depth power scaling videos from Classic Z, going strictly off the manga, so you know it's really well put together stuff. Also, a lot of awesome what ifs and just general Dragon Ball discussions. So if you like stuff like this, then make sure to go check them out because you're going to get more of that. But with that being said, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell over by the subscriber button to get notifications every single time I upload. And don't forget to have a good day. It's been real.
Do it, hit that bell.